So thank you again for being here.
Rob, can we bring you everywhere we
I
go?
know, Rob.
Yes, of course. Yes,
I feel good about
please.
myself right
I do
now.
too.
I'll introduce you as you're coming in every day at home. I always love that you're together too. It's giving us a nice homey feel.
Like each other.
Yeah, we do. We do.
I love it. Well, we just heard from the Relaunch team
Yeah.
about returning to work and pivot. So I'm really excited to continue this conversation. We have lots of people in the Power to Fly community that have taken career breaks. And also, I think upscaling, the theme of today's conversations,
Mhm.
is so important to that. So, what unique challenges do career returners and pivoters face in today's ever evolving workplace?
So what we've noticed is that the problem really isn't as much with them. The opportunity is more with hiring managers who have a
Mhm.
shocking lack of imagination.
Mhm.
So what's my line that I always say about work?
Work is work, whether it's paid or unpaid.
And so
Yes.
we need to really teach hiring managers and recruiters to value the work that's being done. So I would say that the biggest challenge that they face is translating what they have done as a caregiver, as a community leader, as an advocate, as a gig worker, maybe as a consultant. And in the case of relaunching, in the case of pivoting, translating that work that they've done in one role into the other. So the challenge is for them to communicate it effectively. And then the real opportunity is on the hiring side for them to just realize that work is work.
Yes.
Mm.
And I also want to add to that, it's that it always starts with you sitting there right now, believing that that work is valuable, it matters, and there is a way to translate it so that hiring managers ultimately can see the value too. But you have to believe it yourself first.
Because we're never going to believe it. The
Yeah.
hiring manager is never going to believe it if you can't speak it
Yeah.
from the heart. Right.
Yeah, I love that. It kind of brings me back to the very first conversation I had today, where we were talking about the fact that most people I know, including myself, what we went to school for is not what we're doing now. And that's
Yes.
because I learned all these other skills
Mhm.
along the way. And if people
Mhm.
just looked at like, if all they looked at my resume was like, what did I study in college? Like, I would never get any jobs that I have ever had. But it's like looking
Yes.
at this, and I love like what you're saying too. It's like you need to look at everything that that person has done, whether it is in a traditional workplace or not.
Yeah.
And just to your point, we are all going to be having to learn new things because we can't even
Mhm.
predict the jobs of the future. Jobs that are
Absolutely.
popular now didn't exist 5, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be increasingly common that what you studied and even maybe your first couple of jobs are completely unrelated to where you are 15, 20 years later.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We would never have, anyone who's in
Yeah.
AI now wasn't studying it 20 years
That's
ago.
exactly right.
That's for
Or
sure.
or social media.
Yes.
Even.
Well, it's
Oh,
funny. I was just on with some of our students that are in our course currently, and I was telling them my mother is a retired guidance counselor. So you can only imagine how she's always wanting to have the conversation about career and future and all of those things. And I remember saying to her when I was starting my own relaunch process, Mom, I don't even feel like what I want to do when I go back into the workplace is invented yet. Like, I don't think it's fully fleshed out yet.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have been more true. I was taking it, my education background. I'm a teacher to the DNA of who I am, but I'm doing it in a completely non-traditional sense now in the way that we've built our company. So
I love that. And what's the best way to translate unpaid caregiving or volunteer experience or skills from maybe a different industry into language that resonates with employers? Because that's, I feel like, such a key. It's like you can put it on there, but if the language isn't really like lining up with what people are thinking, like they're just going to look over it.
Well, the first step is you really have to know your audience.
right.
So you really can't go out now. I mean, you probably never should have, but especially now, you can't go out into the workplace with a catch me when you hear something you like kind of resume or elevator pitch. You have to be clear. So the first thing is really knowing your lane, defining it well, and knowing who your audience is. And regardless the audience, you're going to be focusing on tasks and results. Task could be, I'm the PTO treasurer, I'm doing bookkeeping. A task could be, I'm the communications manager for the land trust and I do e-newsletters and it's marketing. And so, and then the results. How did you grow the audience for that marketing newsletter? How did you save money as a bookkeeper or a treasurer? Those kinds of things. So really thinking, any hiring manager wants to know, what did you do in business terms, and what did you accomplish,
Mhm.
right? So it's really looking at all of those things in those ways.
We actually on our YouTube channel have
Oh, yeah, we did.
we have a whole section on our YouTube channel where we actually teach this very specifically and walk you step by step. And I even think there's a downloadable on there
There might be,
that
yeah,
helps people. So that might be something that people
that
want to
people
do.
can
Yeah.
just on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and I think that's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever given or ever have gotten, which is show what effect your actions had. And so whether you're, I think, a pivoter or returner or you're not, like
Mhm.
making sure you say, listen, I sent these many mark emails and it would grew our audience this much year
Right,
over year, making
right.
that very clear there. I love that. And how can job seekers navigate applicant tracking systems or ATSs for folks who don't know when they don't have all the right keywords or traditional qualifications? This is something we hear about in every single one of our job fairs. Every single person is asking one of our sponsored companies, I think I'm being flagged by the ATS. Like, I don't think I'm even getting through to you. A lot of those people have untraditional backgrounds or
Mhm.
resumes, and they're thinking whether that's actually happening or not, that they are getting flagged. So what are your thoughts on, those
Well, we
right
have a
keywords?
strong opinion on this.
Yeah, yeah. What you think. So the basic question is, how can applicants navigate their way so that they're not flagged by the ATS, so they actually get through? I mean, our general answer is they can't, and they shouldn't even bother to try. I mean, the
Hmm.
numbers are dauntingly against you.
Right.
It's like, 20% of Americans actually got a job just by applying online. If you remove all of the people who do software engineering, computer coding, whose careers are so easily understood by a 1 and a 0, take all of them out, it's a lot less. And then add the fact that the people in your audience and our audience
Right.
might have a career gap or resume gap, might have taken a career pause and taken a lesser job for a number of years, or maybe they're pivoting. They're never going to get through. So our advice is don't spend your time there. Spend your time networking to find people who can get you in front of hiring managers. We were working with a client yesterday, just a private client of mine, and he was working on his resume. He hadn't even updated it yet. And somebody reached out to him that he knew, or he was networking. And this guy's bringing him in for a second interview. He's skipping the recruiter. And, he said, well, should I get my resume done? I was like, no, not now. Nobody's looking at it. They're bringing you to the hiring manager.
Right.
So that's the power of networking.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Off the cuff question for you. What
Yeah.
do you say to people who they're a little they think they might be overstepping when they are trying to send something to someone on LinkedIn, like to send their resume, like, they want to make sure that they're not being a pest, but at the same time, as you've
Yeah.
said, they might not even be getting through the ATS, so they might be going through other means. Like, how should people kind of navigate that? Or should they just go, you know what, I'm going to send it out there anyway?
Yeah. Well, I think that's just a mindset, right? That can be an obstacle for you. If you believe in the fact that you have value and you have a voice that needs to be out there, those connections are something that you should be employing. That whole platform, the LinkedIn platform, is about connection. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed for networking. And so that reach out, and especially when you are in your mind and you're thinking, oh, am I going to be a pest? Do it with one person, just
Mm.
one person, and show yourself, I have a history now
I'm
of
not a
being
pest.
someone that's not, and I have a successful connection because of it. So just ripping off the Band-Aid sometimes and actually putting action behind it is what's going to grow your confidence to do it again and again and again. And so it's just making that first move. It's not that it's not uncomfortable. You might feel uncomfortable about it, but you're doing it anyway because you have a greater goal for yourself, and you are proving to yourself that networking is something that I do now.
And the other thing to know is that everyone you call on has had to get if they're
Yes.
employed, they got a job. If you
Yes.
believe the statistics, there's a really high likelihood they did not get their job just by applying online. They got it through networking.
Yep.
Most people are going to be accepting of your request.
Yes.
We also have some videos out there, but kind of specifically how to talk track. So we believe a lot in scripting. I always joke that really my job is just writing scripts. So my theater background was actually helpful, Rob. Maybe yours too. But scripting out what you're going to say so you have a flow, you understand what you're asking that person for. As people who get network requests a lot, we prefer when you contact us and tell us exactly what you want. Not, I want to pick your brain, I want to brainstorm.
Yeah.
I want to know what you want. I want to help you,
Yeah.
but I don't want to have 30 minutes of just chit chat.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
Yep.
Mhm.
You have to look at that opportunity as I am educating this person about who I am versus I'm asking for something, I'm being needy. If you can shift your perspective to I am educating this person about what I bring to the table and
giving them an opportunity
giving
maybe
them
to tap into it.
exactly, and giving them the opportunity to maybe run with that. Okay.
I love that. I had a cold call like earlier this week, and I literally was like writing
Yes,
notes
there you
down.
go.
So it was like, I don't want a script. I'm not going to read from this, but I want to be
No.
able to glance down, see some of those notes. I actually, and Hunter, who's been emceeing also
Yeah,
today,
I know.
would agree. I was running some of it through AI. It was like, what if I had to cold call someone and ask them for this? Like, what should I say? AI
Yep.
was bouncing things back. I could then make it in my own voice. I
Yes.
love that. And actually,
Yes.
that leads into my next question for you, which is all about AI, which is
Yeah.
can AI tools help with career relaunches or pivots? And if so, which ones do you think are worth exploring?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the free
Deep
tools,
dive on this.
the free tools are perfectly adequate. So there are Resi and Zeti and all these tools that help you write your resume. We're big believers in writing your own resume in your voice. If you are not a natural writer, go ahead, use ChatGPT, kind of like you did to write your script for that cold call. Let it kind of give you a template and then go in and make it in your own voice. There are some great AI tools right on LinkedIn. One of them, and it's in the free membership category. You don't have to have premium. You can on the left-hand side, when you go through your settings, you can click on interview prep and it will feed you an interview question and you can practice it. It's audio only, and then it will assess your answer. So that's a good free tool. There are certainly pay tools, but most of them are using language that is not yours.
Right.
And here's the deal. I mean, we've all worked with people recently. I've been working with someone recently whose emails and written communication bears no resemblance to them, right? They don't have that vocabulary. They don't talk like that.
Right.
So that inauthenticity is a flag. Now I'm partnering with this person. This doesn't really matter that they're doing that. But if I'm hiring someone,
Right.
I want to know that the voice is their voice.
Yes.
I actually think when I see a typo now,
Yeah.
I'm a literature major, so typos were like, but now when I see a typo, at least I know they wrote it.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier today about some of these telltale signs. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering, like, what are your thoughts? Because I know a lot of people might be using AI, and sometimes some application systems are even prompting you to use AI to write your cover letter. But I also get a fear that like things are going to start feeling very generic. Is that
Well,
just
remember
kind of,
where,
yeah.
yeah, if you remember, AI is based on LLMs, large language models, which are just a culmination of all the resumes that have ever been written. As someone who's seen a gazillion resumes, most of them stink.
Right.
So it's only as good as the content that it has available. So most resumes talk about, I'm a people person, proven track record of X, results driven, adult servant leader. I'm like, bleh, right? I mean, so that's what they say. And there's like a different order of those same words. But if I'm reading a resume and it's coming from Rob's voice and it's just different and fresh, it's going to capture my attention. I'm going to read it.
And it's memorable. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to be memorable. So you don't want to fall into the pack. So using it as a template, but then putting in sound bites that are your sound bites, things that make you come to life on that piece of paper is what's important.
I love that. And
one other use of AI though, of ChatGPT.
Yeah, please go ahead.
We just did a workshop and then I forgot. Let's say that you have some job descriptions are 4 pages long. You could just cut, paste, throw into ChatGPT and say, what are the 5 things I really need for this job? And it'll tell you. Another use that I did recently with actually my niece was she was applying for a company and she went on LinkedIn to see who do they hire, entry-level job. So she found 8 business development reps. That's what she wanted to be. She cut and pasted their experience, stuck it into ChatGPT and say, what do they all have in common? And what they all had in common was they were Division I athletes, which she was, but she hadn't really celebrated it on her resume. It was kind of buried at the end. So what do? We put it at the top
Mhm.
because we knew that 8 of the 10 reps that she looked at were Division I athletes. Clearly that's something. And then when
Speaking their language.
right. And when she spoke with them, they said, oh, we love hiring college athletes,
Right.
but they wouldn't have known. So that's another way to just use ChatGPT, almost like a Cliff Notes or a Spark Notes, like to just give you the essence.
Yeah, and that example is making me think anyone who's a veteran or a military
Yeah.
spouse, like those are great things to maybe highlight there.
Right.
And
Right.
there's also some tools that folks can use that you can see what words the application is saying and
Yes.
then match some of those words. So you might not be saying develop, but it says develop. So like put develop in, just so you're
Yeah.
a little bit more
Yes.
aligned. You are already saying that, so just
Yes.
why not like shift your language a little bit?
Yeah.
And
A
I'm
little
curious. Oh,
tip, just on the, because you mentioned military spouses and veterans.
yes.
If you are a military spouse or veteran, do not underestimate the power of that connection. You could go to LinkedIn and go to the company that you want to apply for a job at and search their employees and just type in the word Navy. And anyone who has US Navy on their resume is going to come up, and their LinkedIn is going to come up. There's a much higher chance that that person will connect with you out of the gate just because of that
shared
experience.
That shared experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you balance, especially for folks who might be have some unconventional skills, they want to highlight those, but they also want to keep that resume to like the 1 to 2 pages. And it can be hard, maybe if you have a very lengthy career, maybe you've done a lot in your time away from a traditional office. How do you balance like keeping the resume like as clean as possible? And or should some of that information only be on LinkedIn? What are your thoughts there?
The LinkedIn and the resume have to be aligned. So you can't, that's why you can't have 7 different versions of your resume, because there's one LinkedIn and you don't know which one's going to be in a person's hand when they look at your LinkedIn. But when it comes to these, the brevity, some easy tips. First of all, the longer ago it was, the less real estate it should take up. I care a lot less about what Rob did in 99, if you were even working by then. I'm old, so 99.
Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Were you born then? You were born, right? I'm really old, so that doesn't sound that long ago. But I don't care what Rob was doing in 2006. I care more about what he's done in 2016, 2020, 2024. That's the first thing. The second thing is
make caveat on that.
Yeah.
But if that where you cut your teeth was a name or an organization or a company that is really notable
and germane to the industry you're trying to enter.
Yes, then you want to make sure that is above the fold.
You're thinking of that lawyer.
Yes, I am.
That's exactly right. Another piece. So it's easy to repeat skills. We see a lot of resumes with redundancies. So you might have started out an accountant coordinator at BBDNO. Then you were an account executive. Then you're account manager. There are a lot of repeat skills. Do not repeat skills. If I'm going to know that you know how to do that. It doesn't matter if you've done it in the next 3 jobs either. So that's one way to achieve brevity. Not putting in things that don't matter. So people think they've got to account for every single month of every single year. You may have taken a job for 6 months that was a total bomb and didn't work. Don't put it on there.
Yeah.
That nobody cares. Another way to help, especially for career relaunchers, is never put the months, just put the years that you work. Because that gives you a little bit more, it usually stretches things to your advantage. It's a cleaner look. And then that 6-month bomb assignment isn't even an issue because you're only talking years.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I would say those are the ways for brevity. I would not worry about a 1-pager unless you're under 30.
Right.
I think it's pretty hard to do a good 1-pager. Better to have a 2-pager that's got good spacing that I can read easily. That's in a font that 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old eyes can read. Right.
I love it. No, this is so helpful. Yeah, I'm logging in my brain because I know I'm going to be asked about these questions from community members in the future. Love to find out. Imagine. So of course you don't have this, but imagine you do have a magic wand and you can instantly master any new skill to help with a career pivot or return. What skill would you choose, and why would you choose that skill?
I would probably choose agility. So I was doing some research recently on what are expected to be the 5 most important skills / qualities of new hires. And the sampling was like Google and Amazon. So big tech giants, and words like agility, humility, curiosity, I mean, it was a long time, even for the tech companies before it was hard skills,
Right.
because those are a moving target,
Mhm.
right? I know how to code in JavaScript now. In 2 years, it might be obsolete,
Right.
right? C plus was like all the rage 10 years ago. Now it's not, I don't hear about it a lot. So, so trying not to chase the skill, but the ability to learn the new skills.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say grit and resilience. You know, you've got to be able to stick with something when it's hard and it's difficult. And, you know, our workplace is going to be a challenging workplace. It's you know, there are a lot of things that go on, and being able to stick with something when it is challenging, hard, and difficult is such a benefit to the longevity of your career and the sustainability of your career.
And most people would probably answer that question with some type of skill, like hard skill set. So, but for those of you who are relaunching or pivoting and don't have a lot of tech skills, again, as I said earlier, you cannot chase the tech. You don't know what's going to be popular, even what your employer might need, but you can integrate technology into your daily life. So you could use Monday.com, for example, to organize your tasks. You could set up a family Slack channel to communicate, just the free one. You know, these are all free tools. You could use Canva, learn how to do like basic graphics. You could use Excel or QuickBooks just to do your basic budget for the year. If you integrate those basic skills into your life, those are the big buckets for non-tech roles. You need to have something that's a task tracker. So like that Monday.com might translate later into Salesforce or HubSpot if you're doing that kind of work. The the QuickBooks and the Excel will translate into something more advanced on the accounting side. The Canva is just opening your eyes to graphic design, so that later you might, if that's an element of your job, you'll be able to use your company's proprietary software to do a better job because you'll understand the basics.
And all that's doing, all of, you know, just playing with that on your own time, in your own world, in a low stakes environment, all that's doing is just building that confidence and knowing that when I get in there, you know what, I can learn. And you all should know that about yourselves. You are learners, you know, and that's a skill set that really our workplace needs.
And I'm so glad you said that, because one way to really bring the temperature down on the anxiety that you might be feeling when you enter the workplace, and we hear this from all of our students who graduate from our program, when they start their jobs, they come back to a graduate call and they're like, let me tell you something.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
Nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's learning. Well, it's like we're learning new things and we're all learning them in real time. And that can just give you a little more confidence that you're not the only one who's learning the new system, because the new system is new to everyone.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier in the summit today, but I also think companies, when they're hiring, that yes, they want to see that you're a fit for the role now, but they also want to retain you. And to do that, they want to know that you can grow and learn with the company. And they're not expecting you to know everything today, but they are expecting you to be able to have that grit, have that agility to go, okay, I'm going to grow along with this company. I'm going to be in it for the long haul, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I know you kind of touched on this already, and as you said, we can't predict the kind of technology future, but is there one kind of skill of the future that you think is going to be really essential in, say, the next 5 years?
I would probably say communication skills. And as someone who sees very young clients and students and older, there is a difference. So I have 4 millennials, or not, I guess millennial. I have Gen Z and Gen Y, I guess. They're not exposed to, they don't have as many opportunities to speak. I mean, they're texting a lot. They're using these platforms. So communication skills will be paramount. And I don't just mean speaking. I mean listening, active listening, analyzing, and presenting, being comfortable doing that, because you will be asked in any role to do that, and you will advance your career better if you are doing that, because someone who's comfortable communicating, listening, analyzing is going to be better at calling attention to themselves, positive attention to themselves in a meeting, advocating for themselves with their manager, being seen for that next level of promotion because of the way they interact with others. And, you know, the younger people entering the workforce, I think, could use a little more work on that.
Yeah, I love working remotely. I never want to go back to an office, but I'm very grateful that I worked many years in kind of a cutthroat, like fishbowl environment because
Yes,
like, you had to throw out ideas. People were reacting in real time. They get
yes,
built up that stamina in that way. So
yes,
I
yeah.
agree. And before we let you go, love to see like what's one piece of advice for someone who's just starting their upskilling journey? Because this is the thing we hear all the time. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I've got a million things happening. So what's that first step that people should take, or that first piece of advice that you would give them?
Usually what we tell them is to take a breath,
Yeah.
and before you dive in, figure out what your lane is. We kind of touched on that earlier.
You don't want
And
to be like, getting multiple certifications or,
right,
trying to go
right,
down all these
right.
different roads or avenues, because really you have to know your why. Why am I doing this? Why am I moving in this direction? Why am I gaining this skill set? Why am I putting the time? Why am I taking time away from this
Right.
to put it into this? So understanding what that is
And then
really.
understanding the where, like where do I want to be?
Mhm.
Because right, if you don't know the industry you want to enter or the type of organization, you're never going to be able to attract me as a hiring manager because your resume and your LinkedIn will all be too general. So take the time, even if it's just a few weeks, to what we call exploring and assessing. Explore and assess. You're asking questions of people in the role. This is another place where ChatGPT can be helpful. Putting in questions like, what does a typical day in a business analyst look like? Right. So get some information.
Yep.
Take a look at that. It's better if you can talk to people
Right.
about this and ask questions more about what are the big challenges that you're facing right now. How is success measured in a role like this? Really understand what the role is. What is the typical compensation? What's the work-life culture for people doing this kind of work?
Yeah.
And then assess it against what you want.
Right.
So understand.
And your current priorities.
Right. Your why is not just what do I want to do? It's what do I need from my work? I need,
Yep.
at this point, I need flexibility. I need to be paid well, and I need community. So
Yep.
I'm not going to take a remote job. I'm not going to take a low paid job, and I'm not going to take a job that's 24/7.
Right.
I love it. Thank you so much. Before I let you go, I want to bring in one of your number one fan,
Oh.
Hunter, who's been listening in the
Oh,
background.
yay.
Hi,
Uh,
Hunter.
say hello.
Hi.
Hey.
I was like, don't let them go. I want to say hi.
Oh, so
You're
good to see you.
you're doing your own workshop today. I saw
I
you
did earlier. I'll send you the tape.
do.
Please do.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
send you the
Please
tape. You can
do.
watch the
Yes.
replay. How
Yes.
it was so good. I loved hearing you say you cannot chase the tech. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
Yep.
And it's liberating,
Yes.
I think. as
Right?
someone who-
Because
yeah.
it's like you said, overwhelmed. There's just like
Mhm.
so many things, and now there's so many tools, right? Because like now it's like the renaissance of all the tools that are being built on top of ChatGPT
Right.
and stuff. And I
Right.
don't got time to do all that. There's no way.
No, no. It's supposed to make our lives easier,
Right.
not harder.
But for
Yes.
me, it can be decision paralysis
I
because
totally
there's so
agree.
many.
I totally agree.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I love that you brought in keep it simple for us.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, we're going to bring in our next speaker, but Kelly and Susan, before we let you go, where can people find more about Prepare to Launch You?
So at www.preparetolaunchu, the letter u.com, you can find everything. You can connect with us on all the social platforms, and we have that YouTube channel.
And we're on Spotify
Yeah.
now too.
Oh, yeah, we are on Spotify.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah,
Good.
lots of great
Your
stuff on
buds.
YouTube I saw.
Thanks,
All right,
guys. Thanks so
everybody.
much, Rob.
So much.
Bye, Hunter.
Bye,
Good
Hunter.
seeing you, ladies. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.